Now, when it comes to 80s fantasy movies, there's a few that stick out. There's, of course, the Conan movies. Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer. Then you get Krull. Dragon Slayer is a good one. Also Lady Hawk. Willow. And one that I went back to and watched just last year was The Beastmaster. The reason I'm singling out The Beastmaster is because this movie that I'm doing today, well, this one has a similar history for me. This is The Sword and the Sorcerer. Is The Sword and the Sorcerer as memorable as The Beastmaster? I don't know. I did remember it. I remember that it existed, and I remembered that I saw it way back in the day, and I liked it. It's a fantasy movie. It's a sword and sorcery kind of movie, exactly like the title says. The Beastmaster, I watched that one like way back in the day, and then hadn't really seen it until just like last year, and I really liked it. It surprised me at how much I liked it. Well, this movie, I remember as much about it, before seeing it again. Like, I'd seen this maybe 2 or 3 times back in the day on home video, of course, because, I wasn't old enough to get into the theater to see this thing. It's not nearly as good as The Beastmaster. First of all, it's kind of boring. There are some exciting parts, and there's some really good scenes and some memorable things about this movie. But the majority of the movie is people sneaking around in a castle set, freeing prisoners, and like some rebellion against the king and stuff. And you do have your swords, but there's barely any sorcery in this movie, except at the very beginning and the very end. Like, the beginning of it is really cool. It's like, the evil usurper of the throne wants to revive this demon sorcerer, bring him back from the dead, so that he can help him conquer this kingdom and become king. The opening scene is like them going to the grave, and they have to climb these like super high cliffs on this rocky seashore, and then they have to make a blood sacrifice or something like that to raise this guy from the dead. He looks really cool, and he's one of the better actors in this one, and it's actually Richard Mall from Night Court. You remember Bull from Night Court, the big dude? That guy was in so many fantasy and sci-fi movies in the 80s. He had a crap ton of makeup on, and the practical effects like that show him like getting resurrected and all that stuff is really cool looking. And I was like, yeah, this movie's gonna be awesome. There's gonna be stuff like this in the whole rest of the movie. Nope. That's like the only scene, except for the very end, that you really even see the sorcerer, because they kill him off like the very next scene. Once the guy gets the throne, then he like betrays the sorcerer and sends him to his death. And then it's like 10 years later. But yeah, the actual king himself has a son, and he has a magic sword. And this is the most memorable thing about the entire movie, is his 3-pronged sword. I don't know, they don't even call it anything special. It's just the sword of power. They don't even really reference it that much, but it's like this super weird thing. It's like it can shoot the first and the third prongs off. You can launch them at his enemies and stab them from a distance or whatever. And I don't know if they like grow back in there or something or whatever. It's kind of dumb. But yeah, so the kid is escaping. Well, the kid, he's like a teenager or whatever. He's escaping the kingdom as it's being overthrown, and he escapes with his life, but he has to fight with the sword to get away. And that's all well and good, but according to the scenes that are in the movie, one guy's still got a piece of the sword, like he's impaled on it, and our hero is like running away and he's long gone. So, but the next time you see the sword, it has all 3 prongs again. Did he get special ones forged to fit in there or something? Or that's the only time you see the sword till like maybe 20 minutes left in the end of the movie. And okay, that has nothing to do with it. So the sword is barely in it, and the sorcerer is barely in it. Like I said, the rest of it's all like political intrigue and people sneaking in and out of the castle and fighting town guards and stuff like that, and it gets really boring really fast. You know, some of the actors are okay, like as your lead character Talon, the son of the rightful king, the rightful heir to the throne. He's played by a guy named Lee Horsley, who the only thing I ever knew this guy from was a TV show called Matt Houston back in the 80s. Yeah, it came out around like when the A-Team was on TV, and it was this Texas lawman or whatever. He's fine. He's a little bit of an arrogant idiot, but his acting's fine. Good enough for TV anyway. As the bad guy, as the usurper of the throne, Cromwell. Oh, his name is Titus Cromwell, because we got to throw a couple of historical names in there to make him sound extra bad. Anyway, he's played by Richard Lynch, who plays a really good bad guy. He's in a lot of 80s movies, and he always plays a bad guy. There's one other guy that you might know. His name is Simon McCorkindale. He was also a very prominent TV actor in the 80s. I believe he was the Manimal. Come on, you know the Manimal, right? I'll have to go find a copy of that sometime. There's good, like, side characters. There's so many characters in here. And you don't remember which guy is which and who does what, and I don't know, the storyline is really confusing and unnecessarily complicated. I want to see a heroic fantasy movie, and this one on paper, this is exactly that. But just the way that it's played out, and maybe the way it's directed, or I don't know, or just the storyline itself just became so boring and repetitive, and it was more like a heist movie than a fantasy movie. And then at the very end, yeah, you get to see him get the magic sword, and he launches the missiles off the sword or whatever, and kills the bad guy that way. But the sorcerer comes back, and he has to kill the sorcerer as well. And then the movie's over, and he leaves the kingdom and goes on wandering, or becomes king. I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, I don't know why I looked back on this fondly, because it was super boring, except for that opening scene in the very end. So I don't think I can really rightly rate this very much higher than, say, well, I'll give it a C+. I'll give it a C+ for nostalgic purposes, and that opening scene, and some of the cinematography is pretty good. The set design is all good and all that. Just the overall impact of the movie was just a snooze fest. So I guess I no longer consider Sword and the Sorcerer to be one of those iconic 80s fantasy movies. I don't know, I guess if you're into the genre, you might enjoy it a little more than I did. Just compared to the Beastmaster, which really surprised me and made me want to watch this one, I was just disappointed. Beastmaster was way more ridiculous and way funnier in some points because it takes itself so damn seriously. I mean, this one takes itself mostly pretty serious, but it just doesn't get as crazy, and it just doesn't get as entertaining. Yeah, boring as shit, actually. C+. So join me next time here on Andy Boy Comics and Toys for another movie review. Until next time, everybody out there, have a good one.